This video is a replay of a trade I took today. Now, it probably goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway. I am not a financial advisor, and trading entails risk. Just because I got these results today doesn't mean that I can get these every day, nor that you can. Remember, the entire premise of the investing project and the $1 million experiment is that I am not an expert, and yet I am learning how to do this. So for heaven's sake, don't just blindly copy me. Instead, find a mentor, someone who is an expert, and join their community. Pay for their mentorship. This approach has worked very well for me, and it likely will for you too. So use this video partly as education and partly as inspiration. After all, if I can learn this, you can too. G'day all. Okay, so today we did a quick bounce trade on the MYM. And you can see if you look over here at the black on the left side here, we look at all of the dailies, the daily charts. You can see that the MNQ is making new highs, the ES is making new highs, the M2K, which is the Russell RTY, is making new highs. The only one that isn't, or that hasn't in the last couple of days, is the MYM. And so we think this potentially has room to catch up. Add to the fact that in the pre-market, you look at, this is more than pre-market. We're by about 6:49 or so, so like 19 minutes after the market opened, you can see that the NQ is already up above the previous day high. The ES is approaching the previous day high. The Russell is as well. The M2K is approaching the previous day's high, or it's hit it already once, and the MYM is nowhere near it. So this feels to me like it's got the most potential to catch up. So with that in mind, I'm looking over here at, and looking again at the others. You can see the NQ is continuing to rise on the 5-minute. Over here it's the ES. Over here it's the Russell, although it's pulled back a little bit. The thing that's pulled back the most is the YM. And so what I was waiting for here was for it to come back to this recent low, which it does right about here. And so entering this trade, I entered at about 6:52, so it's 6:49 right now in the replay. I'm gonna start it going here. What I did, in fact, is I reduced this to one contract, and I got in a little bit early, thinking that it might want to come a bit lower and go to the previous day's low, in which case I would add the other one. But in fact, so the idea was I was going to get in a little bit early, right about here. Actually, I got in at 49,198 is what I got in at, so a little bit above where this is right now. And rather than waiting for this bar to close, with the idea that I would either add if it came down here, or I would add once this bar closed, and I would get the second contract at the usual spot, one just above the first green bar. So that's what I was thinking. What I'll do for this replay is I'll just put the trade in at the average of those two prices, which was 49,228. So that is the equivalent of where I got in. And so we'll let this go a bit here, and we'll see what happens. Yeah, so it went all the way up there. It came all the way back. This is still up. And now I'm in. So that was what I did. The risk was just a shade more than this because I actually moved this down a bit, so add about 20 points to that. And then the target is way up here. Well, it's never going to get way up there. But let's let it go, and I'll narrate this as I go. Okay, so this we'll let this play a bit here. And at some point, it starts to go. Now this pulls to even once it goes to 100, and it starts pulling up. Now what I did right around this point is I said, I'm going to come up here, and I'm actually going to follow this. I actually put this, what I often do is I follow the 5-minute bars up. But what I did here is, even though this bar hasn't closed yet, it had enough of a gain that I didn't want to give it back. So what I did is I moved this right to 49,328 and locked in 100 points. So the worst case scenario is I make $100 at this point. And so we'll let this play. And in fact, it got up You know, I'm gonna just zoom out again. Oh, yeah, I am zoomed out. So you can keep an eye on this. You can see at some point we start to flag and pull back a little bit on the NQ and ES,
Failed.
and at that point it takes me out. And you can kind of see a little bit. You can see it more on the 2 minute, maybe over here, that it's starting to think about coming back down. And that's the point where the YM, being super hyper, managed to come right back down and take me out. So it locked in the 100 points. Not bad. I mean, it ended up coming down a little bit from there, which just kind of highlights that this, in fact, was the end of that near-term high. It did actually, a little later on, another half an hour or so later, it did actually make a new high. And really, I probably could have got 200 points out of it if I had stayed in. However, just the way this market tends to snap back, I wanted to lock in that 100 points. And that's that.